The Dangers in Synthetic Drugs, a message for parents. Support for these videos are made possible from a building capacity grant and by the cooperation of public and private partnerships in Macoupin County. Today off camera we have a young man, Tyler, that has firsthand experience with synthetic drugs. I'm going to start by asking Tyler how synthetic drugs have impacted his life and the life of his family.
These drugs have made my family separated. It's an awkward house to be in. It's less of a family now and more of almost friendship-like things. It's sort of hard for all of us to get along now. Everybody thinks we're stealing from each other to get the things we needed, and really tough to go through. It's taken a while to get back to where we were before.
How long were you abusing synthetic drugs?
For almost a year.
We have a group of experts today that are going to talk about this and hopefully have solutions and conversations for other parents. Paula, let me start out by saying, what are synthetic drugs?
Well, there's two kinds, synthetic marijuana and also referred to as synthetic stimulants. The synthetic marijuana goes by several different names, K2, Spice. Synthetic stimulants can also be known as bath salts. There's many terms out there for these drugs. We will be showing a few pictures later to help you identify what they look like. We also want to make sure that you understand that they're being sold under the disguise of plant food and chemicals that are used for other things other than getting high. That's how both youth and adults are getting them, thinking that they can get high without someone knowing they're getting high.
State's Attorney Watson, are these drugs, are they legal or illegal?
They are federally banned. Illinois recognizes that there is an issue with these drugs and have been working diligently to pass laws. Many of your cities and your counties have passed ordinances banning these drugs.
The county you're from, Macoupin County, has taken some pretty proactive steps recently. Why don't you explain that to parents and why they adopted some of these ordinances and policies?
Synthetic drugs are a very serious drug. The problem with synthetic drugs is that it is a man-made drug, and it's chemical compounds. And these chemical compounds are, since they're man-made, you don't know what you are ingesting in your body when you take these, which means that you don't know what kind of reaction your body is going to have to these drugs. And because there are serious drugs, Macoupin County has taken a very hard, strong stance in passing a very comprehensive ordinance banning all of these drugs, whether you're selling them, delivering them, or possessing them.
Sheriff, would you agree that these drugs are abusive and addictive?
Absolutely, absolutely. And the ordinance that was passed in Macoupin is another tool in the toolbox for law enforcement to fight these drugs. But they're certainly addictive, and they're being marketed to people who have little resistance against addictive behavior. And they're a terrible thing. And they will cause a lot of grief in families, and we need this education out there to help parents understand what's going on.
Brian, as a parent, you would agree that they're abusive and addictive as well, too?
Absolutely.
And would you agree with the sheriff that they're targeting some of our most vulnerable, our children?
Absolutely.
What's the typical cost of a synthetic drug?
Oh, it ranges, depends on the size of the package that you're getting. I have more experience with the synthetic marijuana, and they're anywhere from $15 to $30. Like I said, depending on the size of the bag that you're going to get.
Where would these typically be purchased at?
Well, when we first encountered these, the synthetic marijuana, we were finding it in convenience stores, gas station convenience stores, tobacco smoke shops. Was even told that they were sold at bars. But now that some laws have been enacted and put in place, and these places don't carry these items anymore, it's now being sold just like every other drug from the local drug dealer on the corner, street corner, and they're getting it off the internet.
Paula, what are some of the symptoms of abuse?
Symptoms can appear in many different ways. A child can become withdrawn from their normal activities, withdrawn from the family. You might see a great amount of anxiety, more difficult with the child dealing with anger issues, becoming more defiant. You may see the child have more hallucinations, things like that, especially right after they've used the drug. But mainly be aware of any changes that in their everyday behavior to know if they're abusing on a daily basis or not.
Sheriff, are there any other signs we might see besides the empty packets or the open containers, any type of paraphernalia that are associated with these?
Well, if you're going to smoke these items, you would have to have some kind of smoking device, probably a pipe or something along those lines. If the child would smoke it in the home, it'd probably be a telltale odor. The child is going to have money to buy these things. So if there's things missing from the home, things like that, maybe they got sold to purchase these things. You need to know what's going on in your home as a parent. You need to discuss things like this with your children. And if they do seem to be having more cash than you're giving them, you need to find out where they're getting it.
State's Attorney Watson, you mentioned the Macoupin County ordinance, and there are other ordinances out there. What do you think makes Macoupin County's ordinance on synthetic drugs unique?
The Macoupin County ordinance is unique because it not only holds a penalty with a fine, court costs, and possible community service with jail time, but it also mandates counseling. And because synthetic drugs are targeted towards teenagers and young adults, mandated counseling is an important component to this ordinance in that we are trying to prevent further use of synthetic drugs and other illegal drugs.
Brian, your statement to other parents that are watching this?
Be vigilant. Don't be naive. You can think that your child's not doing this, but when the signs are there, the withdrawal from normal activities, from friends, from family, changes in friends, the aggression, lack of interest in doing normal things that teenagers would do other than hide away somewhere, even be gone for days without knowing where they're at. They're all warning signs. Don't brush it under the table. Be vigilant. Don't be afraid to challenge your child. Step up. You're the parent. Be in control. And if you're if you're in a home where there's two parents, make sure that you're on the same page. Make sure that you're working together. That's the key. And if you're a single parent and you need help, don't be afraid to ask for help. Get help from somebody. Aunt, uncle, grandmother, grandfather, clergy, community service, whatever. Do what you got to do for the sake of your child, even if they don't like it.
Sheriff, your message, Sheriff?
First and foremost, be a parent. Kids have plenty of friends. They need parents. They need people that's going to guide them down the right path and help them make hard decisions in their life at a young age so that they can make better decisions when they get older. And don't be fooled by the rhetoric or in the past, the fact that these things were, quote, legal. Rat poison is also legal, but it'll kill you. And these things are no different, and they're made in these laboratories that are unregulated overseas. Who knows what goes in them, but we know what comes out of them, and it's not what we want for our kids.
State's Attorney Watson, your message to parents?
I would say just be observant and be a part of their lives.
Continue the education at home about the different types of drugs. As a parent, make sure that you're aware and you're educated about all the forms of drug use that could be, right there at your child's hand. Just because you've had 1 or 2 conversations with your child about drug use, don't assume that they will say no. Have the conversation over and over again. You be aware and help educate your child.
You've heard the experts speak. Anything that you want to correct that they've said?
I would say, like, how Brian said that the packages being sold, they're $20 for a 2 gram, 3 gram package, and upwards between $50 to $75 for a 10 gram bag. And how they said it was highly addictive. I've had friends tell me that, like, they've had withdrawals from it, like clamminess, sweating, fevers, even puking, feeling so awful they just sit in bed all day, and it's just terrible.